And we are live. Hello, everyone. I am Rich Miller. One. And this is a quarantine stream. 37th one. Now we will hear the quarantine, the ever beautiful, ever wonderful, ever lovely, ever gorgeous, ever charming, ever green quarantine stream. This is called Ocean. I am an ocean, and have always been. The river needs a gulf, the mountain needs plains, the sky needs land, the atmosphere needs heaven. The ocean, though, is already half a planet. I am an ocean, and have always been. This is called Dance the Night Away. A blue wave sprayed gently onto the window. It remained an unfaded crescent reaching over the rooftop. Birds flew through untethered. Droplets yawned in sonorous applause. The shape succumbed, giving way by matching passing movements, as when water splashes in the sky. A maypole stands unraveled while a sunfish kisses a butterfly. The fences were then a canvas, soaked tissue paper sprung over electrical wires, fragile forktails freshly shaven, as bronze tiger beetles glanced up at the heavens. Dance the night away! How you guys doing out there? Any requests? This is called I Got Away Alive and Sane. I've been living like the whole FBI died in a Kool-Aid mistake. I've been keeping a time bomb in my shoe so I know that my watch is correct. I got a tiger by the tail waiting for it to end tomorrow. I've been up all night burning my bridges, making jokes about ex-friends' fetishes. I won't tell you to hold on or say you don't deserve what you get, and you certainly won't ever see me take the first step. I got a tiger by the tail waiting for it to end tomorrow. I got a floorboard in the garage. I've been overstimulated. I've been sore. I got away alive and sane. I didn't get strangled or stained. I got away alive and sane. This is called Sympathy for the Cowboy. If you can't figure out what the hell this is about, we probably aren't going to be able to figure out much about each other at all, ever, huh? Sympathy for the Cowboy, all alone on the range. After the war ended, he was forced to change his name. Sympathy for the Cowboy, holding his dying brother, who begged with his last breath, "Tell mother I died with honor." Sympathy for the meth lab and all who fight in harm's way, who hope to abolish minimum wage and charge only $15 a day. Sympathy for modern times and those who argue they're right. Sympathy for the victim who already has all the laws on their side. Sympathy for the student who's only lived in theory in a hammer and sickle t-shirt, walking away from the barricade. Sympathy for the lawsuit and all who fought for reform. Sympathy for the bumper sticker telling you to be reborn. Sympathy for the stallion running free and too wild to ride. Sympathy for the guy who tried, his wife cried, him and his foolish pride. Sympathy for the strawberry and all the trial separations, press releases pleading for privacy, and, of course, doing it for the kids. Sympathy for the nihilist sucking on his cigarette, cutting you off in traffic, no constraints of guilt or regret. Sympathy for the stalker on his computer outside, looking at pictures of you in high school, saving each one, even if it takes him all night. Sympathy for the cowboy whose son moved off the ranch, said he might be coming back soon if there's no change of plans. Good Lord. It's called Everyone. Too late in the evening, 7:45. That man around the corner lost his ring in a fight. Here comes St. Thomas walking through the door, found himself an auction, bought everything on the floor. I don't wake up too early, I don't cut my face, I don't call any strangers, and I don't look for their graves. Everyone gets half of what they want and half of what they don't, half of what they couldn't and half of what they won't. Pork chops in the kitchen, above the sink there's a light. No milk on the table for the blink of an eye. Up the road is a driveway where they come out paid. Yeah, they come out smiling, dead cats in their way. Everyone gets half of what they want and half of what they don't. Half of what they couldn't and half of what they won't. It's from a book I put out last year. The book is called Citizenship. This is, of course, called The Vatican Vaults. Shelves lined with caskets, ripe fruit piled in baskets. Sugar cubes and teacups rattle as saucers are dragged across tablecloths. Outside, a crowd sits murmuring. A harmonium coughs discordantly off the spokes of a bicycle wheel, and snakeskin is carefully wrapped around palms. Two men each wear a veil, one off mauve, the other pink lady red. Gravel sits at the bottom of stained glass vials, and mink pelts are smoothed out over tiles. Three elderly spinsters raise their voices in praise, their weathered hands shaking at the sky. Gold medals tied around their waists reflect the sun directly into children's eyes. Four blind beggars fool the crowd into believing they're brothers who compete by tying knots in a rope faster than any comers, the act only ending at dusk when they split their spoils. Stars roll around the moon, back and forth from end to end. Clouds erase them away when each new day begins. I'm going to read two back to back. These are brother and sisters, released 7 years apart. The first is called Jade, the second is called The Tide. Winter went without start over. Winter went without finale. One brain with a seagull emeralds and a chop of jade thicker than my wrist. Glancing became the transmission, like a doorbell whistling in a veterans parade. So behind the minute hand extends more than obligation and demands more than devotion. Passion is 10,000 tiny cuts, so untraceable they dye emotions without ever gracing the surface. Lightning travels celebrations and standing full face toward the stark light and thin wire swordplay. Who's been saying in this bed? No one without articulation, tempo, and psychic extrapolative hysterics. At the break, I am pacing, ignorant to stillness, shattering shins, pushing flagpoles out of the fields, locking edges to mortar, and blushing with inevitable glory leave. This is the time. Swimming through the rising tide, eyes, 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 eyes. God bless each and every one of you. Diane, Gio, Momo, Jungyan, Nyan, Sana, Cheyoung, Sui. Who am I forgetting? And Mina, ballerina Mina. Sorry. Yes, Eve, on the limestone madrigal entrance. The wind stormed around the asthma liquids and flying cost of yen. The fur was melting in an envelope, lime green irises bobbing in the water. Trying to pry through the quarantine line, topics of conversation overheard, rusting park, yellow shoots and chipped lacquer, birds landing on Mount Fuji. A dulcimer was plucked, floodneck papers rising and collected. Outside, crisp rings of flickering, crossing change. Numbers assigned in a fetal hotel, slow motion time to diagonal lights and backward directionals. Ceremonial silver displayed, cold crux of current torn by rain and smog-filling ditches. Spear thrown into the branch, limestone posts built on the marsh. Letters sent with smeared ink, walking through masks for photographs. The motorcade wasn't noticed. Flipped cigarette, punctured wrist. The tide stretched over itself. How we doing out there? Good. It's called Water. Water, 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 water. It would be good if motion could evaporate and then solidify into a form we view in flux, or be on course to be boundless and sing of the sea. Aiming a voice at the sky, never again I'd read a tattered sign. My body no longer closed in the fields of dirt and clay, but wind-blown and awake, seeing droplets in rivers become oceans and lakes. The salt darting through the air ends my hunger. It cleans the shore and surprises its permanent structure as the molecules become lighter and smaller. Dance in the water, woman and man. Thou shalt have a boat. Thou shalt save a fish. Thou shalt be steering when the boat comes in. Thou shalt have a vision up in the crow's nest. Dance in the water, woman and man. Dance in the water. Dance for the birds. Dance for the wind. Dance for everyone on land. Thou shalt see the king before the revolt. Thou shalt find a partner, one to love and to hold. Man will be woman and woman will be man. Dance in the water to the perch and to the sand. I once lived on Salisbury Plain. We'd come from Ireland and only ate grain. We changed their battle hymns and substituted our names. We sang boldly, we shall rule the waves. Never, 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 never shall we be slaves. We sailed in the Pacific fighting equinoctial gales. We felt liberated by the sight of sharks, storms, and whales. We gathered strength and survived the death of Captain McCahey, for we would have been despised by his ghost if we had ever stopped facing the sea. Now we're outward bound toward the Gulf, to the Indies and back around. We'll gather gifts wherever we dock, and when we're headed homeward, I'll bring silver galore and a Persian cat and a camel fur, and you won't have to wear those cast-offs no more. Now haul away the bowline, the ship is rolling! It's a tough life we merchants undergo, and we don't give a damn how hard the winds blow. The sailors gave us a bad name, they let us fall through the weary waves. They threw a hatchet in the floor of their boat, and if it doesn't sink, you'll hear them gloat. But if we were out of order, never again would we see the sea. No more! No more! No more! We sail with a northerly gale to our island home in the county of Cork. Our mainmast sprung, our pitching done, fire in our stomachs, salt water in our lungs. Now haul away the bowline, the ship is rolling. Endless ocean, endless ocean. I moved where I could see you, away from places I couldn't see through. I threw away my socks and shoes to be waiting at your shore. Endless ocean, endless ocean. My blood has all departed. I stopped the things I'd started. My organs are unguarded. I see your waves get parted by the tide and its rippling mood swings. Endless ocean, endless ocean. You sing so perfectly. I am in love inside the cotton of your warmth. Endless ocean. I'm calm and now I'm here. Your reflection is so clear. The sky is just a mirror, an imitation of you. Endless ocean, endless ocean. I don't need to talk. I found what I have sought, and to you I will walk. Endless ocean, endless ocean. I recently put out a book. Still waiting to get it up on the internet. Still fighting with the hosting website. Hopefully, they're. I don't want to talk bad about them, but they're now deleting their comments, any complaint comments off their Instagram pages. So that does not bode well. At any rate, the book is called Apples and Ice Swimming Together in Soapy Water. And I think it's really beautiful. This is the new piece from the new book. This is called Parallel Place. I live in a parallel place where the land is level, where the streets are bright in the evenings, and I know what tomorrow brings. I live in a parallel place where the wind is cold, where gray haired men sweep the bandshell and foxes sleep under church bells. I hear the lank haired women walking in the morning, their faces shaped by the sun. I live in a parallel place where there's endless electricity with very low voltage, where everyone dies of old age. I live in a parallel place where rain runs into a tunnel, where able bodied women clear the gutters and dragonflies rise in a slow motion flutter. I see the able bodied men hauling fallen branches, their faces shaded by the sun. I live in a parallel place where people speak in peace, where the foreman's spouse greets the mailman in a see-through blouse. I live in a parallel place where the forest faces east, where contracts are written in invisible ink and codes are created with a wink. I see all the people breathing through the day, their faces graced by the sun. Blissful cardinals, blissful infants, blue reflections magnified 10,000 times, blue beams bouncing off aged lenses, radiant artifacts, radiant heirlooms, white sails blistered by the salty sun, white china stacked in cupboards, shining domes, shining necklaces, green feelings balanced on a yardstick, green parchment weighted down by grapes. It's an old one from 1997. It's called Moonlight in a Dirty Teabag. I spend my time in theaters, and when I get home at night, the plasma in my blood always pounds too fast, and the broken overhead lights can predict what's going to happen tomorrow. Yeah, the night shows off your real feelings. The streets are chipped and cornered. There's a punk rock kid with black lit spiked hair and a lonely mechanic who tries to hug his customers. Something like that. The cops always fly past, oblivious to it all. We happened to hook up by chance. She was snake dancing through some guy's shirt. Our conversation had something to do with the Renaissance, but to be honest, I can hardly remember. So we went back to her place. Her skin turned the color of a Dalmatian, and when she laughed at me, I started talking too much. There were whistling monks in the corner wearing crowns of jewels, and I tried to play the straight man amongst all the cacophony. She took my hand and told me that it was all right, and when we got on board the satellite, she sang folk songs all the way to Mars. She took my hand and promised me that it was all right, and when we got on board the satellite, she sang folk songs all the way to Mars. This is, you can probably see how y'all are doing out there. How y'all doing out there? Beautiful. This is apples. I went to the penitentiary to apply some ministry. I hitched past the cobblers and said no sale to the merchants. Once past the gate, I placed my cross on the desk and turned to face the inmates of the colony. I read them Ecclesiastes, the first pages of Revelations, and answered all of their questions, each of their questions. Upon returning, I sat in my cabin and unraveled the head I kept with me. It was around 15 pounds. The first camera ever shown to me had been used during my mother's autopsy. My mother was a woman of unshakable faith, part of a tradition that no longer exists. She found a kind word for everyone, made clothing for the members of the council, and then she'd levitate when we sang Onward Christian Soldiers in the barnyard. We'd go in there after dark, drink molasses, and tighten the wiring on the man we were constructing. The choir would pound the floorboards while we hammered after screaming the word of God, and my mother would say, "Oh, son, all that chrome is gonna sail someday." We were bound to make that metal man fly before anyone else claimed the rights. I built the heart, John built the lungs. My wife fed us with milk and butter, while my sons made skin from our pigs who'd been diseased that summer. After helping nail spikes in the railroad, I preached against frivolity. I was approached by men who shook my hands and gave me thanks. They were ironmongers who'd cast muscles for our man and build us a proper church. Months later, all the strands had been lost. We were forced to sell our coal for less than we'd paid. We were destitute, calling for mercy to keep away the natives and to save our ways. We resettled west of the mountain plains after months of wooden wheels breaking and cattle dying. That metal man had been taken apart and used to build shelter. And it was one night around the campfire, as we sang songs and ate steaks scraped with iron, that the flames started shaking and turned to blood. We looked down at our plates and saw our food become rust. A thunderbolt clapped and we all fell still. In the morning we saw brass and gold chips where the fire had been. We saw the privileged conditions of the bankers' houses looted empty. We knew the guiding hand had started the end of their Babylon, and we rejoiced, like when the angels with breastplates of fire descended when the locusts were licking the wolf-head jaw. I ran my teeth till the enamel was peeled off on the apple stem covered in ants, the same ants crawling over the cemetery. I need a burial at sea, no clauses, no wills, just a boat to be thrown out of. I submit to carbon and salt. They can attach a camera to my body and lance treasure with a harpoon. The apple stem, like the spicotoxins in a blackhead, or the sun landing on a city block. Flower stems have no lifespan and won't live through a flood. Apple stems are stronger than a panther spine and protect the seeds from burrowing all the way down to the earth's core, next to the devil's hand who sucks the juice out of the skin and tried to rip the apple stem with a hatchet. The apple stem isn't burdened by the seasons or burned by foul. The apple stem rots when bruised, gets carved into headboards, and disintegrates in sulfur. I can't be decorated with 2x4 effects. I've seen the citizens stomp, making their ribs stop. I've seen oxygen get released over clouds, forests, and police. See a clearing where the sharp aluminum formed our fossils, buried, standing up, past the buildings that store 1,000,000 bushels of wheat. See the ashes on the bunkhouse underneath sticks and twigs with the Indian gum picked out. See a clearing, sewing all the skirts at the end of the porch, near the river for the blue ribbon winner. See a clearing for the Prince of the Mayflower. It's called Transformacion. The gull wing gold leaf ivory elevator doors open to reveal a portrait of an orchard, saying, "This wicker basket contains every memory you've ever had, so if you've got a purple number, come over, pull out a slip, and start to reminisce." Me and my sister playing parlor tricks in the back seat, while Dad turns up the radio to drown us out. Then he leads down, increasing speed on the way to the dog show. Come over, and pull out another favorite. Semi-finalist in the quarterfinals of our school district's annual spelling bee, and I got here on an easy word, charisma. Afterward, we went out for ice cream cake, even though my mom wanted bagels instead. We let her hold the trophy as a bit of a consolation. Transformacion! The baby blue lagoon gull wing elevator doors open to a balloon crooning in a soprano profundo. Today, you're in the classroom sitting between a magic wand and a sprinkler behind a rhinoceros and in front of a stethoscope, ready to make toothpaste out of erasers, lipstick, and hairspray. Today, you're in the classroom and your substitute teacher is Adeline, a 102-year-old oak tree, and you're making birthday presents for her best friend. You're ready to make nylons out of eyeliner and passport pages filled with stamps of horse-shaped signatures. Transformacion! The pleated red vinyl elevator door opens to reveal a singing taxi. Today it's your birthday, and you get breakfast in bed served on a star-shaped black and white television set, blinking lights on the pillow heads, milk on a blue and white dress. Today it's your birthday, and you get a pink and blue book with blank pages to fill in with drawings of budgies and juice boxes. Rainbows of erasers, crisp bubblegum in between mint baseball cards. The gull wing gold leaf ivory elevator doors open to reveal a portrait of an orchard transplanted to a beach. Today, you're taking a surfboard out of a small bus while watching a girl pick up the wallet that fell out of her purse. While your head is plate glass, your arms are oars, and your hands are rafts. Today, you're making videos on the boardwalk of people roller skating while holding umbrellas or eating ice cream off towels. While your mouth is a string swimming in circles while daylight is young, and they intend to dream of visiting Playa full of pleasant fling, tones rhyming ever so tinnily and wrangly in something misheard and turned into a quiet joke among monks and either brethering ein fiel. This is an older one. This is called Insects. There were 2 tubes with oil, a deadline with a knife and foil, and when all my teeth rotted out, my gums grew weak. There were crowds outside to hear me speak. And it didn't matter till you fell asleep and have a dream that was complete. I kicked my watercolor, I struck some flame, I formed a noise until you came. The hack woodcutters near the town are calling me out tonight alone. I think there might be some bad drama, a one act of consequence no witness will remember. But they don't write as well as you. Their hands are big. They grab on too easily to someone else's story. They spell out feelings that are just so ordinary. And you have my plot and you have my bail. You put my money order in the mail. And I race down the boulevard to get a glance as you walk toward the Landing Sparrow, the fresh-like roadkill, the discount store with brown pill bottles. We took off our pajamas till you twitched and got sick, and when I held your head on the sink, I looked left and began to think, you aren't sincere for dying, not sincere at all. There's nothing sincere about dying, and are you telling me that you're not here when we burn the lights and break the mirror? The room is black, but your sound can follow. The edge has gotten sharp and hollow. On the trees outside, the insects are humming like liquid silk weaving through the screen. Take your medication. They won't crawl upstairs again. And since we'll see each other dead, tonight we'll stay unfed. This is another new one. This is called Should I Go In? The silver pepper mill whispers to the hammer that she's an airport. And though she never really shows anybody, I still know for a fact that she's an airport. If you stop at her coffee shop, she'll charge you extra for a plastic top. The well-water ice cubes have heard this tale before, but she's an airport. A zebra's chewing gum can confirm the reports that she's an airport. If you take off your shoes at the security stop, she'll throw them in the air and they'll land in the baggage cart. Run down the runway into the center of the day, where the sun is pointing to the ground. Reach all the way to touch your toes and remember a story you'll want to pass along someday. Run down the runway into the center of the day where the sun is pointing to the ground. Reach all the way to touch your toes and remember a story you'll want to pass along someday. She's an airport, and her father is a farm filled with corn stalks. Her mother is a candy factory spinning reflective baubles. She's an airport, and her father is a farm filled with corn stalks. Her mother is a candy factory spinning reflective baubles. Color candy. If I talk to you, I will some more. And just like in today's world of opinion and denunciation and admirable, like in pictures and friendliness and outward inliness, maybe I'm on the thrust of that. She dreamed she was a train draped in robin's egg lace. She couldn't keep still in one place. She dreamed she was the only train running on the 4th of July, filled with whipped cream to burst and streamers to fly. She dreamed she was a train running past the impound lot, and after every platform on the route, she'd whisper, "I still love Phil." She was sad when they closed the gates at night. She dreamed she was a train filled with die-cast metal engines and cowboy hats, ordered by the civil rights worker's favorite daughter. She dreamed she was a train, her earrings flashing orange lights. She waves hello to the one car she'd stopped at the tiny suburban crossing, a train to get the tracks loose and rattling. Rattling tracks reminds her of those aunts and uncles talking over each other at her grandma's birthday. This is, how you guys doing out there? Having fun? How are we doing out there? Doing good. Beautiful. Love it. This is called People. I'm a young man closed off in this room. My name, it doesn't matter. Where I'm from, I can't tell you. I always wanted to control my own destiny, not share responsibility, so that I could be free. They sent me off to college so I could learn the law. I met a lot of people, each one with a different cause. I turned myself to physics and astronomy to see if I could throw away the seeds they'd put in me. I drifted down to the south and I saw it was vast. I memorized equations on the eyeless ending sand. I knew that my superiors, they were very strong. They would put me up in space and never steer me wrong. But my expectations didn't fly. They kept me on the ground. The paperwork was drafted and I was shown around. They checked my past for arrests. My retinas were scanned. I hoped that there would come a day where I could finally take command. They made me go and lock the doors and cue the landing lights. It was a secret mission in the middle of the night. The burners started blaring. I crawled inside my suit, knew I wouldn't come back even if they asked me to. I am a young man closed off in this room. My name, it doesn't matter. Where I'm from, I can't tell you. I always wanted to control my own destiny, wanted to go and vanish up in the slipstream. The emperor looked at the head of the horse, lifted his head and picked out the brains, opened his mouth and smeared the remains. He dressed his servants as nymphs and pans. Little boys in the nude stayed in the pool to bite on his body while he swam. His sister said, "If breath is a blade, then desire's the cage. Claim your birthright before you're saved." Had his mother killed, made it a crime to laugh. Attacked the statue whose clothes matched his own, his bleeding fist sunk into the gold. He memorized the lives of the gods. Jezebel stole him a tunic. He began planning his burial. At night he debated with Jupiter. He saw Palatine Hill. The volcanoes were calm before the Christians burned. Diamond-tipped shovels were used to pierce the columns and arches, jewels and violins. The violins on Palatine Hill played like birds colliding in the air. The torches flared. All the grain was set glowing. The senator's body rolled back on the sheets, his speech like a paused spasm, murmuring, "I'm nursing a viper." The rest of the ward willingly succumbed immediately. In the middle of the gymnasium were booths with men in bulletproof vests giving out ballots and voluntary vaccinations to guard against contaminants. While in line, you could read pamphlets on the issue or flip to pictures of festering boils. It's slippery and strange to walk all alone. Sealed lips will keep the borders closed, and no infestations will travel north. Nothing to arrest security, just a cure to keep people in the grasp of liberty. The medicine was made with pearls dissolved in vinegar. The choice was made by pulling the lever. The searchlights were made for us by the protector. A thief entered. Everyone was roused. The wife and kids looked at the head of the house. He opened his robe, threw a small bomb, later standing over the intruder's body. He thought through history and spoke his favorite quote, "I want him to feel like he's dying." Free grain for everyone who asks. Free grain for everyone who enters. Wheat in exchange for marble. Wheat for the state. Wheat for the state. Wheat for the state. Wheat for the state. She takes the leather, squirms in the saddle. The dust closes her eyes. I can see the red jacket from here. Two girls climb the stairs, very poised and aware. They'd been here before, the Los Angeles smog amongst their backs. Two men arrive the next morning to drop off a pair of glasses and smear the window pane. The teenager can't make a sale, so he packs up his stereo equipment and his clock radio, exits out past the telephone. When they were done, they sat in the kitchen and carved up some watermelon. An hour later, they threw away their clothes. Young man in the backyard. The owner doesn't know he's there. Taking a drink from the garden hose, drops his flashlight on the ground. He dropped his flashlight on the ground. This is called 3% profit. Actually, excuse me. Now it is, I will read 3% profit. Waking up to the sun-soaked world in the eyes of a diamond stretching out from a full circle. I was at a recital resting on a bed of feathers and then floated to the front of the festivities. A Mercury step leaped through the lake and landed a leafy, soft meadow, my legs a blurring, winding wheel. My mom and dad hold out boxes. They walk together to an airplane, then climb up and run across the wings. But soon it's nice and quiet for me, as we can plainly see. I tied a string around an anteater, as we can plainly see. The newspaper says it's better to have metal teeth, as we can plainly see, but I would rather bathe in butter, as we can plainly see. I nicked a little bit of hammer and nail on my way onto the helicopter. What I knew of physics sped up my entrance. Never seen the sky be so brave and wide, or thought about the joy in watermelons. And when I carefully left the step stool and went into the underground ice tunnel, I ran across a humidifier so the motor could keep my feet warm and not get harmed by frostbite. My eyes hide behind a pregnant woman's stomach while a laser rings into my ears. I try to open a case of sewing supplies, but to my surprise, the latch is bandaged shut. I breathe yellowed air and drink bubbling water and play with friends who live in the shower. I put a cold stream of thoughts in a brown paper bag and wonder where I can tap the telephone. I freeze my face in photos so that I'm not recognized while I page through my scrapbooks. The bugs and the cracks decline my invitations to dance, so therefore they're unwanted. I hiss into the sink until they crawl back so that my party can stay filled with levity and not too much gravity, so I paste my Polaroids all over the walls in geometric patterns and steal some dinner from my next-door neighbor, as it's their fault for giving me a key. My sleeves festooned with pins and wind chimes dangle and jangle, announcing my arrival. A curl in the best nest with an arm that won't do you harm. An idol vibrating on a whirring appliance, as we can plainly see. And soon I'm ready to eat, nothing moving suddenly, as we can plainly see. And even sooner still, time to sleep. Here's to a night of pleasant dreams, as we can plainly see. there? Doing good? Beautiful. Love it. This is Animals, of course. You soak the carpet in lingo, scratching the hair off your arms. You kicked out the stranger, ridiculed the superstitions he held on to. You lie restless, staying clean, wiping sweat, and I think about this quite a lot. Pressing the grooves of my fingerprints into my forehead, sending an idea that reminds us both. Hell, there was another plan. In crumbles of sugar, I saw a wild motion. I hunched towards it. I looked at it happening. It felt like a parade, elephants awake and gallant. I'd been so nerve-stacked the loops of my heartstrings matched my eyelashes. I wore a royal blue jacket with gold sleeves. There was a swirl that came from the trumpets, a triumphant chaos of repeating. There were banners hung from the tusks. My fingers had gone purple from clutching the baskets next to me. American Gothic didn't have this many thorns or any sepia tones to run on. I was welcomed in the house. I ate the cracker offered. The speech heated steadily. I found a pit of flower seeds. The displays had chanting and chips of bone and silver, a collection for the prison, and dried hides of hunters. There wasn't an explosion, but then the ground bled. I swam through the cracks. All the plants had red stems. I want to be new, roll on straw, get my ribs bit by a tiger. I have memories about you, that cackle. I can see you bumming a cigarette from your grandkids with a sizzled mouth and bald patch. When you were younger, you were springing your superhero underwear, but you couldn't be my life. We never paid rent to each other, and there's so many people who don't know where to go to battle. I can climb to the top of the bungalow and jump off the second level, kick my legs on the way down, land like Mark Monday, and get a strawberry Italian ice from Freddy's after. I can climb into the yellow mold Nova, and when my foot goes through the floorboard, I'll drag down a passerby, pay for a ride on the thresher. Wolves that land can burst into fire. Deer protect themselves, and bears break into grain silos. Rabbits are the rats of the desert and crawl to eat the mice on the plains. And now, from that elegant room asking that most musical of questions, when the evening is still and quiet, and the candles are glowing violet, the sultry air makes you drop your cares, your doubts and your frowns. You descend the stairs and head into town. Walk through the leafy glade, float on the ground beneath you, walk all night with your gaze fixed upon your lover's face. Sing a song of love that you learn from above. Dream of her caress, the nape of her neck, and know that you'll never part when the evening is still. Light remains in your heart. You feel so free, smashing ennui. You could be skipping stones all alone and not mine. Walk through the leafy glade, float on the ground beneath you, picture her delicate face, and ring the bell at her gate. Sing her a song of love, feel your joy soar like a dove, and when you're at home, reading her poems, you know that you have found someone who can make all your dreams come true. It's called Rubber Buttons. Needs to be kept simmering, the time should flow slowly and quietly. Let's go! My shoelaces are undone, which means someone's likes me as much as I love to see a basket of swinging snowflakes. My shoelaces are undone, so I throw them next to a trunk full of styrofoam tongues, and the person who brought them yells, "Thank you!" The The first person in the castle has the obvious advantage if they wish to scrape their fingernails against century-old windows. They can concentrate vacantly while being unfailingly polite and insisting their hands are made of the same sand as found outside on the beach. They know there is no joy in failure for their friends and that the fun and restoration happens once the work is done. The second person in the castle has obvious ease with boldly seizing treasure only they can see through a fizzing camera lens. They could research quietly while having no qualms about their ambition outstripping their abilities in assessing gaudy antiques. They know there is no lemon rich enough in sourness to let their taste get challenged into swallowing insects and soiled tents. The third person in the castle has the obvious edge when turning their profile to face the East End in hopes of repairing a table leg. They can dutifully saw and sweep the dust into the bin until the bell sounds for them to begin slicing vegetables in the kitchen. They know there is no crack deep enough to keep them from molding jellies into a series of perfectly semi-translucent wedges. I want brass buttons for my cousin. Because I could not count for cufflinks, they counted for me. Because I could not look for light bulbs, they looked for me. Because I could not dance for diamonds, they danced for me. They realized the chateau has the clear advantage as the place to evaluate flashy antiques. I want brass buttons for my cousin, but I make rubber buttons to wear for myself. While I sew, I look at the library and remember each of my most memorable finds. I want brass buttons for my cousin, but I make rubber buttons I wear on my jacket. I buy the materials from the tan-toothed man who sold my mom a gold wishing box. I want brass buttons for my cousin, because when I preach with the collar, it preaches with me. I want brass buttons for my cousin, because when I move with the meadows, they move with me. They realize the chateau has the clear advantage when you're evaluating flashy antiques. Let's go! Well, it's all right. My shoelaces are undone, so I only walk sideways and photograph a plum purple terracotta planter with a flag with a price tag sticking out of it, though it's hard to know. My shoelaces are undone, which means someone likes me as much as I love wearing an apricot ascot while hearing stories about Korean camping sites. The first person in the tower can brighten their senses by energetically exchanging sunglasses and hairstyles. Once safely ensconced at the top, they can cheerfully sing along with anything, though they prefer Caruso and ragtime to songs they don't know. There is usually a fixed point in the distance for them to focus on things such as a helicopter or hawk taking off shortly after dawn. The second person in the tower can loudly shout, "How I love my girl!" while it echoes back so overwhelmingly they can think that they're in a private booth. They can detect the scent of her shampoo in the wind and look down to see her looking up and running towards them. There is normally an iron staircase nailed in 40 years ago, which serves as the one modern addition to the edifice. The third person in the tower can tell endless jokes over dinner about rabbits they saw nipping chocolate from their mother's open purses. They can wear a lei around their necks, which contrasts sharply with their pinstripe sport coat and tartan flat cap. There is always a sauna where they can fall asleep underneath a slippery painting of their father dressed up as a captain. My shoelaces are undone. They lay underneath the warmth of the sun. This is a true depiction, recited with excellent diction. Let's go! And now I recall other memories from walking around the castle, the humidity kept at bay, clouds letting loose only hints of rain and vines intertwining across each other, and each new flower that blooms, another gift for the dozens of bees in love with the newness of June. It's all on top of my eyes. The curious sage in an orange and brown dashiki, standing before a statue of the stripped Christ, arms open and hovering, all on top of my eyes, lithium batteries in between her teeth. She holds a screwdriver dipped in green paint as she walks over underground cables, all on top of my eyes, in between her toes. She staves off headaches with gallons of water and sleeping when she can. All on top of my eyes, the swells of excitement are just one continued drone. Close concert of ideas, stretching fingers. You did a great job today. Devoted. Seriously. All on top of my eyes. One wonder. One today. This is a newer one. It's from a new book. Hopefully you'll all be able to read it soon enough. This is, of course, called Investigating Mitsy. She rides around the merry-go-round wearing pink. Fucking hell, start over. She rides around the merry-go-round wearing satin slippers, chewing pink peppercorns. Her eyes are a miracle in the way they paint names in the minds of rain clouds. The lightning reaches out to introduce itself. The Queen of Atlantis draws filigree for the king while he's taking a bath. Bristling lips kiss the teeth of the keyring and lick ankles in math. She holds a bouquet of clarinets, wearing a lavender herringbone robe and nodding at buckets of soap. Her elbows hold down her weight on the sand dune decorated with still wet seashells and teacups half filled with a treacle she pours onto tree roots. The Queen of Atlantis plans where the French and English will meet. The king eats suckling pig and excites the court over soaking his feet. Ah, yes. How are we doing out there? Doing good? Beautiful. Love it. All right, this is called Silver Lace. Never let it be said that the book won't be read or that the candlesticks will be thrown out. That's like asking about your blankets and what became of them. Were they left in an alley or boxed and lent to a friend? Never let it be said that the chickens won't get fed or that the evening coffee will run cold. That's like thinking the traffic lights will never turn red or that the wire will run out before you get to return home. I'm looking at a book of photographs by Robert Frank, size cut in half. Some maps people never thought to make. Some paths people never thought to take. When Berkeley was originally settled, the center of town was marked with a church and a bank. Some people never think to give thanks or wonder if they may be wrong. I still have the cassette you made, decorated with black magic marker and duct tape, though the sound cuts off in half the songs. Never let it be said that your sister will stay unwed, or that the scissors are no longer sharpened. That's like thinking the sun will never outshine the moon, or that the heat of the spring only lives in the swell of the afternoon. This is two Franciscan nuns. Chewing mint leaves while crossing the Calumet River, the paper mill's exhaust pipes interrupt the vista. Mules waited with surge protectors, hairspray, and cassettes. A riverboat of morphine-addicted ghosts over there on the left. Two Franciscan nuns wanted to build a hospital but settled for organizing games of chance. In their hotel rooms, they squeeze out extra acidic orange juice and excommunicate people with unpleasant names from the phone book. Two Franciscan nuns helped decorate an admiral in the pensioner's home after he'd misplaced his uniform. They blessed his pills, kissed his parakeet, and as he slept, gathered sets of his false teeth to swap meat. A brain with blood and oxygen is better than a fish who talks. What some people see as skin discoloration is in fact the natural pigmentation when viewed from the inside. Some newspapermen have always known this, and indeed have nothing to hide. This is one from Sunrise on the Can Islands. It's dedicated to Bethram Kiss. This is called Cheltenham Girl. She was, of course, not from Cheltenham, but, poetic license and everything. Like a cloud, beautiful sound, standing before the signal. When the light shines on the ground, it reflects off the wheel. Parking lot next to the short building on the edge of the desert. She sees it's harder to be a number when you're starting out as a visitor. Cheltenham Girl. Clouds can't create the shapes they make or hold on to any rain. Precious, temporary, holding no domain. No machines, no cell phone or computers, clicking through broken links. Credit card, social security needed. She'll refuse to register. She really will. Cheltenham Girl. Every day, another wish, another mile. Closer to the point where I can portray it. Until then, all I'll do is sing to her spirit. She will return. Sorry, this is taking me so long. This is called Cruelty-Free Heroin. When the Guardian goes mad, the sun rains against their eardrums, indistinguishable from Morse code tapping on a copper plate. Yes, when the Guardian has gone mad, they're found singing love songs to tanks, draping staircases and flags, breaking car windows to decorate their faces with the glass. When the Guardian goes mad, they're captured pushing a pickaxe into an LED screen and detained for threatening to throw snakes at gas station attendants. When the Guardian goes mad, people suddenly remember to turn on AM radio and patiently follow guidelines before filing a full report. Though there are always doubters and passers-by who start conspiracies, the usual being that this was a planned distraction. If the Guardian goes mad, they'll arrive at every awards ceremony with a mirror in hand and a ribbon under their chin and make demands to review the voting processes when they don't win. If the Guardian goes mad, they'll rue the day they lost control of their relationships, spending weeks hiring staff to bury paperwork they'll insist doesn't exist, or recorded phone calls. Right? If the Guardian goes mad, all their meals shall consist of orange peels pulled from chain link fences and burned coffee flavored with molded peach preserves. Or filet mignons wrapped in bacon and a Diet Coke. Though there are always doubters and passers-by ready to offer an opinion of unverifiable proof, summarizing the death and maps are the only real measures of impact. Imagine being that fucking sick. If the Guardian cracks up, they'll spend bleak days envisioning trees committing suicide, grandmothers doing crystal meth for the first time, and gnats smeared into toothpaste. If the Guardian cracks up, 7 strangers stuck in a bank will claw at each other to seek cold air in the vault and wait for their families and firemen to arrive and come dig them out. If the Guardian cracks up, pirates will walk their own planks and devour themselves once they hit the water, thrashing back at their gnashing teeth, running the seas red until hunter and prey are finally won. Ignorance! Arrogance! The pest control man said unto me, when I was in Japan, I bought cherry bread in a can. I opened it with a knife and slid off the wrapper. The air bubbles stayed floating in my mouth, and I rolled them around and around until I returned back to the West. Bliss! Tolerance, the pest control man said unto me. Sometimes my apartment building turns into a vending machine, and I get deposited out into the evening to provide goods and services for lucky couples with good taste and a few wandering dollars to rub together. Mm. No. This is about a real person. We'll never know that it was written about them. This is called Allison, where the blue scene icebergs are. She's ice cream, and there she's down the hall. She uses words like everything and all. I can hear her, but I can't make out her features. I know she spends her weekends in a cement cinema making notes. The girl next to her tries to see what she wrote. Allison wonders why the guy in the elevator keeps glancing at her and why the weather keeps jumping between rain and sun every 30 minutes. She keeps saying, "Quit asking me questions. I'm the one that's innocent." As people assume she's joking, Allison wonders, what are the windows thinking on a day where there's a white line down the center of the sky? Her mind cuts back to the guy in the elevator with a quick, I look at me, I look at you. We are equals. Allison wonders if she can keep hiding while knowing that they're following me. Allison writes, what started as hopes are now observations, mostly about nature, and being young stops being fascinating once it's done. Allison looks down at her bowl of spinach and her eyes focus down on the details of one leaf, and she quietly speaks. An atheist sees this and can only think of the mud it grows from. Allison writes, we extend grace out of our own sense of grace, and smiles because she's not sure if that's something of her own or something she's remembering from 2 or 3 incarnations ago. Allison considers why her back and hands are so slippery when she's invisible, and then tells her sister, my tongue is a graffiti sponge. I wonder if I'll have to make love in front of a judge. Allison considers that she's a character who looks and acts exactly like her, then draws a bath with the lights off. Allison invites her guests to walk barefoot while cherries and red confetti float out of her phone. Allison considers emptying cash registers if the security cameras lose power. But what she mostly wants are completely natural segues with no artificial blends. So with that, make thoughts your aim or nerve blaming when all meet with you at your beginnings, but make allowances for their worn out tools and make dreams a trap for fools after they are gone. This is called Party of Colors. Her eyes open while she pretends she can feel her fontanelle. She thought she must be post-person or her own cousin. She read the news, fear of law and God and man in an infinite dynamic loop. She was one image at a time, so she thought that she must be a person, right? She wrote some news. Platitudes aren't solutions and fill space between waves. Now I'm new, and she also knew that the feeling of being new was something that she could always circle back around to. She read the news, fear of law and God and man in infinite dynamic loop. She was one image at a time, so she thought that she had to be a person, right? She wrote some news. Platitudes aren't solutions and fill space between waves. Now I'm new, and she also knew that the feeling of being new was always something that she could circle back around to. This is called Honeybee 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like a coral pink butterfly heading to me. You're looking through your jeweled eyes. I'm waiting for your surprise. A birthday card, an aquarium hung on the wall, a memory in a vein swimming around, arriving too late to hear a favorite song. Flying like a honeybee that counts the flap of its wings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keeping everything else alive. Bubbles on the honeycomb coming together in unusually warm weather. Honeybee, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keeping everything else alive. And now then. The present is in the future. History is present. The future is present. Present is present. History is history. We see the future pushed to the foreground wonderfully, all three, you and me. And as the wonderful Diane once said, I hope our future is like flying birds. God bless you, Diane. The weather is in the sea. Gravulous moment caught and dotted with cherry trees and colored pencils. There is very little in life that matches what I feel when you smile back at what I whisper back at you. We are in the room and out of nowhere, looking at the inlet together in letters and circles, like a slit in the curtain, like a fluttering bird ready to bathe, like an oxidized copper fountain. I want to be with you, always, all the time, like a white shirt with a fresh grass stain, like a streetlight breathing air, like waving from the top of a ladder. You plan all the plans, always, all the time, like a strawberry on the counter, like fingernails washed clean, like a bee being curious of a new flower. You are adorable, always, all the time, like pickled ginger on salmon, like a workbench in the sun, like an invention. Imagine we are here with each other, always, all the time, like a cat cornering a grasshopper, like a licked stamp pressed with a thumb, like a rectangle with unbroken corners. You are mine, I am yours, always, all time. And and we're going to do a reprise of Dance the Night Away. A blue wave sprayed gently onto the window. It remained an unfaded crescent reaching over the rooftop. Birds flew through untethered. Droplets yawned in sonorous applause. The shape succumbed, giving way by matching passing movements. As when water splashes in the sky, a maypole stands unraveled while a sunfish kisses a butterfly. The fences were then a canvas, soaked tissue paper sprung over electrical wires, fragile forktails freshly shaven, as bronze tiger beetles glanced up at the heavens. Dance the night away! All right, folks. And that is another exciting edition of the Quarantine Stream. I hope that you have enjoyed it. Let us play the... No. Let us play the... Definitely don't want that. Let us play the Quarantine Stream theme one more time, shall we? Lovely. And, with that, keep, I don't know, keep hanging in there. And, until then, hopefully we'll be back next week. And until then, stay safe, stay smart, and stay free, because you already are. Yes. All right, everyone. Like I said, hopefully by the grace of God, we will be back next week. Until then, goodbye. God bless. Bye.